Welcome to the Underdog Sniper podcast. I am your host, MGCovers. This is episode 42. Greatly appreciate you guys tuning in. We have a ton to cover. Apologize for not getting this out on Monday. Had some personal stuff, but we're going to regularly record this live. It will be live on YouTube and all of your podcast platforms, 10 a.m. Mondays. So let's dive into episode 42. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about. We're going to review this past week. We're also going to review the year, 2024. And probably the majority of this podcast, we're going to talk about how to define success in sports betting. The majority of people that are involved in sports betting are ignorant. It's probably 95% are ignorant and illiterate as to what success looks like. This whole YouTube channel and podcast is devoted to, or just my whole platform in general is dedicated to teaching people how to improve at sports betting. So it's an education platform. So if you aspire to be successful, you have to learn how to define success and know what success looks like in this business. And if you go look on social media, the majority of what you see are fraudulent records. So people really are ignorant and illiterate as to what success looks like. So it's going to be a very interesting podcast. So let's dive into this and let's review. Let me pull this up this past week. I want to be extremely conservative going into the year, and probably in retrospect, I was a little bit too conservative. I played one play, I think the first 2 days was basically getting my best play, and then we had very low volume, but currently we sit at minus 3.61 units. Not bad, not the best start ever, but again, going back to the whole premise of this podcast, defining success in sports betting is something you have to assess on a long-term basis. And we've made a lot of changes to this model. I'll get into the NBA model and the NCAA basketball model, and I'll share that as well. Let me show the breakdown on this. I like doing this so you guys can see what realistic sports betting records look like. So 1-1, we only had one play on January 1st, one play January 2nd. And again, what I was trying to do this was probably a mistake on my part, was trying to get the best possible play and ended up losing basically the first 3 plays. And I should have played a lot more volume. But nonetheless, 3-6 down 3.26 units. NHL, we split out, cashed the dog last night and lost this pretty heavy juice here, minus 147. So not bad at all. Still feel confident in the year, as well as the models, and I'll show you the changes we've made to this NBA model. Now, if you look here, if you watch the previous video, I made some changes to this model, and what I realized was to increase the accuracy to only play double-digit favorites. And if you look there, starting on 1-3, that's what I did. And I haven't actually started playing these games, but since we started tracking it this way, it went 3-0, 2-1, 0-1, and then 2-2 last night. Last night we had, I think San Antonio was winning majority of that game and only scored like 15 points in the fourth quarter. So really like the changes that we've made to this model. I think the accuracy is going to be there long term. So that puts it at what? Let's see, 5, 6, 7, 7-4. So really good record there. And then I'll show you. I don't have the changes I made to NCAA basketball, but it's 11-8 since we made the changes. Was just playing the top teams via the model. You'd have to have watched that last video to understand that. So definitely like the direction we're headed with both of these models, and that's pretty much sports I'm going to focus on to start the year, as well as NHL. All right, so while we're doing that, let me first quickly review 2024. It was a good year, 47.04 units. That is a really, really, really good year. You can see there we were positive for NCAA basketball, positive for NFL, NHL in the spring, and then the big sport that we sort of anchored was MLB. Down in soccer a little bit, down in NBA. We were positive in NBA at one point. And you see negative in NCAA football. Again, we were up almost 10 units in NCAA football. So again, variance, it happens. You could be up and down just like that. But overall, that is a really, really, really solid year at 47.03 3 units. My best year ever was 75 units in a year. That was 2017. Worst year, 2 losing seasons. In 11 years of doing this, we were down 10 units and then down 25 units. So it is possible to have a losing season, but overall, positive throughout my career. Now, what I want to focus on, this was, some of you may know Steve Fezzik, and what I'm showing you here is a Twitter page. And if you're listening, I'll describe this in great detail. So he tweets this out on January the 1st. 2024, he says 19 units. So he netted out 19 units. And I'm pretty sure that Steve Fezzik grades plays the way that I recommend you grading them. One play is 1 unit. So if you ever see somebody say, hey, we were 10-5 over the weekend, up 35 units, that is not, they're not grading one play as 1 unit. And the reason you grade one play as 1 unit, you can see how accurate the model is and correctly calculate your ROI and know truly how good that model is. And that's just the correct way to grade it. So he says bad service year. I think he was anticipating a lot of chatter from this thread, and he got a ton. So let me first say this. If you're listening or if you're watching and you go an entire year and you're profitable, whether that's 5 units, 6 units, 7 units, 4 units, 19 units, 47 units, you are in the 5% of people that are successful in sports betting long term. And you've heard me say a gazillion times, and I got this from Bob McCune. Bob McCune, my mentor, basically said only 3% of the people that wager on sports are profitable. I think it's probably closer to 5%. But whatever number you want to use, the overwhelming majority, and we're not talking about 60%, we're talking like 95% of the people that wager on sports lose money. So if you are somebody that can wager an entire season, which for me is generally about 1,000 wagers, we were at like 780 something wagers this past year, and you're profitable, you're in a very, very elite group of people that can profit long term. And also too, he says from 2020 to 2024, he was up 257 units. And so that's basically 5 seasons, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. And he profited 257 units. So let's do the old calculator, 257 divided by 5. That's 51.4 units. So back to the premise of what we talked about at the beginning of this podcast, what does success look like in this business? 50 units in 1 year, grading one play, 1 unit is a really, really, really good year. That's a good year. Again, my best year was 75. I think there was somewhere in here. Yeah, there you go. So in 2022, Fez said he hit 100 units in 2022. That's probably accurate. The only thing I wish he would have done was just showed a log to where people could see this. But anyway, Fezzik is a sharp in this business. I don't agree with 100% of the things that he does handicapping wise, and he probably doesn't agree with 100% of the things that I do, but I have respect for him because he is a sharp and successful in this business long term. So his best year was 100 units. My best year was 75. So a great year, like phenomenal year, would be going over that 50 unit threshold, somewhere in the neighborhood of, 75 to 100 units. And then, yeah, that would be considered great. A good year would be considered, basically what we did, 50 units, and even less than that. He says bad service year. I think that's debatable, especially when you're assessing this from the macro and realizing that the majority of people that wager on sports are not profitable. But what I want to do is to show you how ignorant people are. And we can go through this, and I'm going to read some of these tweets here. Now, there's mine here. I'll go ahead and read my tweet. Not a nice way to say this, but majority of you in this thread are just dumb as F and completely illiterate in terms of understanding how to define success in sports betting. Only 3 to 5% profitable long term. He's one of them. Congrats, Fez. And there was another guy here below, terrible at math. And again, that's another problem I have. If you struggle at math, it's going to be very difficult for you to succeed at sports betting. You can do it. It's possible, but it's going to be difficult. And this kid here was adding up units and did a terrible job. I had to correct him. he was basically saying he was only averaging 1.58 units a month. And I corrected him and said over the last 5 years, he's averaging 4.25 units per month. So what does success look like on a monthly basis? If you're averaging 4.25 units, you're on pace to hit 50 units a year. That is really, really, really good. And I want to scroll down. There was one that really struck a nerve. And he gets a lot of criticism here. 19 units. So this is somebody responded, 19 units. So a net loss for your customers, no doubt. Do you offer a rake back, maybe coupons towards next year's picks? I don't know what he means by net loss. Obviously, Fez charges for his service, which he should, and people are critical of that. But I don't think people, compare sports betting to other things. Like, for example, if you pay $300 a month for your health insurance, at the end of the year, you spent $3,600. If you go to the doctor, a couple of times a year, you've lost money. And the majority of people lose money investing in the health insurance. Health insurance is one of the biggest scams. It's, I'm going to go off on a tangent here. It's a transformation of wealth, meaning all you're doing is taking your hard-earned money and giving it to a big corporation, because statistically, especially if you're younger, the odds of you needing some type of long-term care or emergency care in a hospital are astronomically low. So all health insurance is for a majority of people is transfer of wealth. You're just transferring your wealth to your income to wealthy people. But people don't talk about that. Let's scroll down here, read another tweet. There was somebody, still winner, good luck in 2025. You'll get back in form ahead of game in 2024. If you can say that, good luck. And that's true. That's a good tweet. All right, here's the one that really got me rattled up. This kid, Vito Spatafor, I can't pronounce his name. He comments, you bet every day and are up 3 units per month. This is not very good, LOL. See what I'm talking about? People do not know what success looks like in sports betting. If you average 3 units a month, that's 36 units a year. And again, going back to the premise of this whole rant, if you're positive in sports betting, not over a short period of time, not over a monthly basis, but over a year's worth of wagers, and you're averaging 3 units a month, that's 36 units per year. That's better than 95% of the people that attempt to do this business. And there's somebody else, wow, people are never happy. But this is the state that we're in the sports betting industry. Now, huge point to make here. Why do people think this way? Like, why does somebody look at Fezzik at 19 units or myself at probably 47 units and say, wow, that's not very good? It's because of this. Fraudulent handicappers on social media. There's a guy that tweeted out, he was up 170 units last year. I actually sent this guy an email and said, hey, he probably knew it was, obviously he knew I was sort of trolling him, but I said, hey, if you can send me your betting log, I'll have you on the podcast and you can promote your business. Obviously this is fraudulent. He's not up 170 units, but here is the problem. People see these things, see people promoting unrealistic records. They think this is what success looks like. They think if you're making 170 units in a year, or you'll see people tweet that example I talked about earlier. Hey, we went 10-6 over the weekend. We're up 27 units. And that's what people think success looks like in this business. That's why I have to talk about this on almost a weekly basis. Now, let's show you one more example. Probably the most popular, sports betting service is Right Angle Sports. And I'm reading this tweet. He tweeted this on January 6th. So this was yesterday. College football was highly successful from 2009 to 2016. He posted his record 402 wins, 289 losses, 58% win percentage. That's really good. 92.2 units. And that's really good. And I will say one comment about, he posted from 2009 to 2016. My first year in the business was 2014. The business has changed. It has gotten more difficult. I think a lot of that has to do with there's more people that are involved in this industry. There's more states. There's more books now. So when you have all that more volume going into this industry, lines are, quote, more sharp. And it does feel harder than it was when I first started. I know that sounds crazy, even though I think I am smarter and better than I was when I first started, even probably 4 years ago when I took the business online. But let me just stop right here. 2009 to 2016, 92.2 units for college football. So that's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 8 seasons, averaging 92.2 units. 92.2 divided by 8, that's 11.5 units for college football. So again, what is a realistic good number for college football season or even NFL? I've said this before, 10 units. And there you have Right Angle Sports averaging, 11.5. For NFL, we were, 3 units down 5 in NCAA football. NCAA football was probably the hardest year I think I've ever capped. But the big takeaway from this tweet is, again, teaching you guys what success looks like. And that's any sport. If you can hit 10 units in any sport, you got 3 sports, that's 30 units a year. So 10 units would be the starting point where you would define, hey, this was a successful season. Any sport you can get to 10 units, regardless if it's basketball, if it's soccer, whatever it is. If you can get it to 10 units for the entire duration of that season, that's considered a good year. And he quotes Fezzik in here. I would love to see what Fezzik would have predicted our college football results to be going forward at this time. It says college football in the next 4 years, 2021 to current, went 150. No, wait a minute. 250 and 171, 59%, 62 units, even outperforming our heyday years. All plays graded against the conservative sharp book consensus lines in the space and monitored by a third-party BetStamp. And I want to read some of these comments here. Yeah, the first comment, imagine talking about success from 2016 on Twitter. But that's relevant. Meaning they have proven that they are successful sports bettors long term. And this one killed me here. This guy here tweets at Right Angle Sports. Last 2 years have been an abomination, Edward. Hope you turn it around. And Right Angle Sports says, man, if you think 25 units is an abomination, I'm not sure what to tell you. Right Angle Sports, he posts that they're basically up 25.87 units in the last 2 years. Again, that would not be considered great, but the point is, this is what I'm trying to tell you, they would still be better than 95% of the people that wager on sports. So 25 divided by 2, what's that? Basically 12 and a half units in the last. So they averaged 12 and a half units in the last 2 years. But that would still be better than 95% of the people that wager on sports. So hopefully now you can see when people post realistic records like myself, like Steve Fezzik, like other sharps, like Right Angle Sports, you can see realistically what success looks like in this business. And it's not about, 50 units in a week. You're going to be up, you're going to be down, just like I showed you, the weekly results there were down 3 units to start the year, completely normal. The only way to define somebody as successful is somebody that can win long term. Number one. And number two, if you see something that looks unrealistic on social media, more times than not, it probably is. So if you take a full season of sports, however you do it, low volume, high volume, and you're netting out about 50 units, that is a good year for sports betting. If you have a year maybe not close to 50 units where you're hitting, say, 20 units long term, that would still be considered profitable, and you would still be considered better than 95% of the people that wager on sports. What if you have a year where you're getting 75, maybe 85 units? That would be a phenomenal year, and that would put you probably only just a small percentage of people that are successful in sports betting were able to hit that in 1 year. Very difficult to do. So again, hopefully this helps sort of shed some light on what success looks like in this industry. And again, and I apologize because the last 3 podcasts, I think I've ranted about this, helping to define what success looks like in this business. But I think it's necessary because I think, again, I know the majority of people that wager on sports are uneducated about this. They're illiterate about what success looks like. So when you have people that actually tweet and show you like, hey, I'm successful and this is what it looks like, people are almost shocked. And part of the reason, and I will side with the ignorant people here for just a second, is that they succumb to what they see and hear most. The majority of people so there's a ton of fraudulent handicappers. So they're constantly seeing things like 170 units in 1 year, 50 units earned in a weekend. So they see and hear all these things. And if you see and hear things long enough, you're going to believe it. So anyway, hope that helps. And the last thing I want to mention on this podcast, we have the coaching program where you're going to be able to learn how to build models. I'm going to launch that next Thursday, January 16th. I put this thing off like a million times, but I keep making changes to it and correcting it. But it's basically one-on-one coaching. I'm going to show you how to build models. It's more expensive than the normal service. And if you're interested in normal service, $50 a month, you get access to all my lines, all power rankings. You can get access to all my plays for $100 as well. This is more expensive. And if you want more information about working with me one-on-one on how to build models, you go to the website, MGCovers.com, go over to the right where it says stat model, enter your email, and you'll be on the list. So I won't display this publicly. The only way to find out about the program, what it costs, what all it includes, is to get on the email list. Greatly appreciate you guys tuning into this podcast and talk to you guys next week. Peace.